So I just covered intention and the work on the invisible. And so the other side of that is working in the visible, working, actually doing the physical serving, using your life energy to serve others as you're being directed in faith by the Father. That's real. It's a real thing. And, I remember I met a lady one time and she was telling me a story of serving in the name and, and being thanked by this person who was receiving it. And she said to him, this was the Father's gift to her to be able to give this. And realizing the depth of the blessing she was getting by having something to give and being filled by the joy that comes from that. So, yeah, I'm surrounded right here by brothers and sisters who, that's their heart, is to serve. We serve one another, and of course we serve outside wherever we can. If you live in a family environment, which we live in a spiritual family environment, that the way we treat one another, it's a relationship with all creation. So it's a way to pray for the whole world. And then I watch my brothers and sisters and the beauty. There's so much, selfless. I mean, when I say selfless, I've already explained, we all have little bits of self still going on, but so many beautiful brothers and sisters, it's really just to see it in each other is a beautiful thing. And it's inspiring. It's part of what holds us together as a family is the ability to give and take care of one another when there's a need. And of course we have learned that the Lord's pleasure when we're called to give is worth whatever we got to pay to get there. I've watched brothers and sisters, we all have our druthers or still have desires. And I've watched brothers and sisters be called to places where there was a choice, to do the serving that was being called upon, right at a time when they were getting ready to fulfill a desire. And look, we all go through this, all of us. And to watch a brother or sister make the choice to do the giving instead of getting. The other always comes along. You watch it if it's going to serve. But the blessing of dropping yourself and the Lord, that's really what acts of faith are. Is every time we're put in a situation where we're called upon to give where we wouldn't have naturally given. And in all those places it increases. And the beauty of that to the Father, that is the reward. His pleasure in what you're doing. And a lot of times you don't even feel it while it's happening because you could be bearing something, that's hard. But deep inside, yeah, I mean, I've walked through a lot of that. I watch my brothers and sisters, same. I look at, when someone does something in obedience to the Father, and you know that in yourself, what that's like, to give of yourself first, just because He asked you to. Without it, and recognizing that some of it wouldn't be easy, and especially once you already know what it is. And then seeing my brothers and sisters, in this world, I mean, Amen always said Jesus on the cross, right, was the most beautiful thing that ever happened on this planet. And then, it's basically when we really give of ourselves in service, there's a similarity. We're moving through the cross. Now, He's made it light for us. That's real. And comparison to the cross. That doesn't mean we don't have some of those in our life also. But, a slow death is sometimes harder, meaning bearing something for a long time because you've been asked to do that. But then you see what comes out of it, and yeah, the joy always comes through. The first is the willingness to hear and the willingness to add yourself to it. But yeah, I look around, I feel so blessed. And then there's the world where people are doing these things. There's not just this little body I live with. I mean, I'm very much aware in families. I hear stories. My little pickleball relationships and all the people I talk to everywhere I go. You hear stories, their life and what they've been moved to do in faith. Things that'll never be in the newspapers. And yet they're moving mountains because of their intention and their willingness to lay some of their life down for what is right and good in their relationships. Yeah, that's always, it's way more powerful than people think. Now we're in the invisible again, but there is that relationship. And faith without works is dead. So, from the invisible goes the visible works, the outer works. The biggest difficulty with the outer works is people being glorified by them. It's different to appreciate and to be inspired by. See, that's what would drive me, to be an inspiration to people, to go beyond wherever I can go. Really, that would be the inspiration. And I know that's going on all over this planet. Mostly not seen, except by the people maybe who are directly affected by it. Oh yeah, every now and again on the television, on the news, they bring one of these up. And then if you're really watching the world and you're looking for that, you see it. Oh yeah, man. This is the grace of our Father through Christ. I mean, even if it's not directly in the name, it's His Spirit. When people give selflessly to uplift, to encourage, they give up their life. You see it. Doctors Beyond Borders that go to these, we were just talking about that, what a heavy act of faith to go into these hardest places in the world and experience with these people, that what's going on in these places. Oh my goodness, and you gotta be thankful for that, and recognize the giving that's going on in those people. And that is the grace of God in this world. That's where beauty happens in some of the ugliest places in the world. Some of the most beautiful things are happening. And I have no doubt that all these first world nations are about to experience the same. Sooner or later, probably sooner. Because the karma, the what's being held back, it's coming. It's a dam with cracks and holes in it, and there's no holding it back. So yeah, the store up treasures in heaven, man. Get strong. And the giving and the serving and learning to hear. Because the biggest thing, I think, in serving outwardly is, look, I only have this one life physically. And you could say this one body that I can work through. And the energy I have invested in where it's going to do the most. That's the prayer. And then the guidance comes from within. Always going for that in faith. Asking. Ask for acts of faith. Ask for ways to serve. And be directed from within, because you can be a rudderless boat if you're just running on your own thinking. But when you're inside and you're actually offering yourself up without the big ego, you will be directed. And you'll feel it. For years I've been living here, and one of the good feelings I have, even when I really struggled with some of the things I've had to bear, barking dogs, neighbors who don't like us, and even some of the behaviors that's come through the yard, is that when I get up in the morning, I've known why I was here, and that it wouldn't have been my first choice after Amen blasted off. But it's an obedience. And so even though I can't claim it as some way heavy act of faith, it is an act of faith and obedience and a surrender of my own will. And there's a comfort in that, in feeling that every day when I get up in the morning, that I know why I'm here. Yeah, and that about covers that. Amen.